Warning signs about a confessed killer, 18-year-old Jerrod Murray, charged with killing 18-year-old Jerrod Sanchez. And tonight, Jerrod's friends say they were suspicious of Murray, even filed a report with campus police.
Wyatt Freeman was best friends with Jerrod Sanchez. He says both had concerns about doormate Jerrod Murray. They often played video games with him until October 3rd, when Wyatt and Murray got into a fight.
While we were in front of the RA, he tried to hit me again, and the RA had to step in and keep us from fighting anymore.
The fight ended up in the hands of campus police.
There was something really weird about Jerrod, and that he had finally snapped, and I didn't want to let it sit and fester anymore. I wanted to deal with it.
In a campus police report, Wyatt tells officers he was, quote, afraid of Murray, concerned that Murray would harm him, and concerned that Murray may try to blow him up, and made reference to Murray having the anarchist manual in his room.
He talked about building bombs all the time, and he talked about killing people all the time.
Anything to say for yourself today?
No, ma'am.
Any reason why you might have done this young man?
No, ma'am.
No reason.
No, ma'am.
You have nothing to say for yourself.
No, ma'am.
You want to tell the community anything?
No, ma'am.
Did you confess to police?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you proud of what you've done?
No, ma'am.
Do you have remorse for what you've done?
No, ma'am.
Jerrod Murray has been called the well-mannered murderer by some, and his case is interesting mostly because of the peculiar interview he gave to police, in which he shows a complete lack of remorse or regard for self-preservation, as he proceeds to confess honestly and matter-of-factly to the senseless murder he committed just hours before. In this video, we're going to review the publicly available information about the mental health factors involved in Jerrod Murray's case, and pair that with our own observations drawn from an analysis of the interview in question.
My name is Under Sheriff J.T. Palmer. Me and you met on the side of Highway 177 in about Sing Road at about 3:12 this morning, didn't we?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And at that time, you made a couple of statements to me when I put you down on the ground. And then after we got up, I read your rights to you, correct?
You read my rights before I got up, sir.
Okay. Before you got up off the ground.
Yes, sir.
But you did make a couple of statements.
Yes, sir, I did.
Before I read your rights,
sir.
without me asking you anything.
Yes, sir.
You told me you was the guy that I was trying to find.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then I read your rights to you.
Yes, sir.
And then rights was you had the right to remain silent.
The Miranda rights, sir.
The first thing you'll notice about Jerrod, besides perhaps the out-of-place suit he reportedly wore every day, is how he appears to be forthright, direct, and honest in his communication, even going so far as correcting the officer on minor details and making a clear and deliberate effort to provide as much information as possible. This likely isn't unusual behavior for Jerrod. I'm willing to bet this is how he approached the majority of his social interactions, and that's why so many people considered him weird or awkward. But we'll soon see that Jerrod is capable of lying without the slightest hint or indication. He's actually a master at telling lies.
Anything you say, Ken, we'll get you in court.
Yes, sir.
You have the right to talk to an attorney, have him present when you've been questioned.
Yes, sir.
And if you're getting hired for to hire one, want to be appointed to represent you.
Yes, sir.
And I asked you then if you wanted to talk to me.
Yes, sir.
And you agreed to talk.
At the time, I said no, but didn't I?
No. I read your rights to you.
But whenever you asked me if I wished to talk with you about it,
You said you didn't know, and then you said...
Yes.
And then
yeah, that's right.
And then you said, yes, I've already told you, so
Yes.
I might as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And during that talk, do you remember what you told me after I read your Miranda warning to you?
Not word for word, but the effect, yes.
Okay, and what do you remember telling me?
In summation that I'm guilty, yes.
Of what?
Of murder.
Okay, and who did you murder?
Jerrod.
Okay, and how did you murder him?
With a gun. I shot him in the head twice.
Okay.
3 shots were fired, 1 missed.
Notice how nonchalant his tone of voice is as he admits to murder. He clearly and concisely recalls the details of the crime, and does so in a way that's sort of designed to represent himself as incredibly honest, intelligent, calculated, cold. He's actually sort of building a persona for himself. He really doesn't feel any empathy for his victim or remorse for his actions, and we know he's not lying about committing the crime. So there's really no need for deception at this point in the interview.
And where did you shoot? Where did this happen at?
Around 5 miles north of Asher, Oklahoma, on our side road.
Do you know what that side road's called?
No, sir.
Do you know what's on the corner of that side road?
Power station, sir.
Like a substation, a
Yeah.
PD substation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And does that road go all the way through?
No, sir. It turns left.
Okay. And did you have knowledge of this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you from that area?
Yes, sir.
And your mom and dad's house is not too far from there?
Maybe half a mile to 3/4 of a mile, sir.
Okay. Can you get to your mom and dad's house by going down that road?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you indicated to me you shot this guy while he was driving his pickup down the road?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. And that's basically what you told me on the side of the road?
In summation, yes, sir.
And in fact, we already had found a pickup, and there was a body next to it, in a ditch.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's what we're going to talk about now.
Undersheriff Palmer now gathers basic information like Jerrod's full name, address, relationship with the victim, etc. And keep in mind that part of his job as lead detective on this case is to ensure Jerrod isn't, for some reason, lying about the crime. He still needs to gather the full story from Jerrod and treat this as an interrogation, even though obviously Jerrod is being pretty upfront and honest. Next, we'll get the story from Jerrod in a lot better detail, and perhaps one of the most chilling and tense moments you can imagine in a situation like this, complete with a full 12-second pause.
The pickup that he was in tonight and you was in, was that his pickup or your pickup?
I'm fairly sure it was his, sir.
Okay, and you remember what kind of pickup that was?
Black.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't.
Okay, you don't know?
I don't know much about cars, so.
But single cab?
Single cab, black, dent on the passenger side.
Okay. And can you go back and tell me how you two got hooked up tonight? Or this is actually, we're talking right now, we're at almost 6 o'clock in the morning, so can you go back and tell me when you guys got together? This would have been...
Maybe around, maybe around 9 o'clock yesterday evening.
So on the 5th?
Yes. Maybe it was closer to 10.
Okay, 9 to 10. And how'd you guys hook up?
I went down to his dorm room and asked if I could be given a ride to Walmart in exchange for $20 gas money.
Okay. And did he agree to that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did he in fact take you to Walmart?
Yes, sir. We got in his pickup truck and he drove me to Walmart.
And so you're talking about the Walmart in Ada?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's a couple miles from the school?
2.2, no, 1.7 miles, sir.
1.7 miles.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, so he took you to Walmart?
Yes, sir.
And did you both go in?
No, we did not go in, sir.
Okay, and why not?
We pulled into the parking lot, then I pulled the weapon on him and demanded that he take me to Asher, Oklahoma, sir.
Okay, and why did, all of a sudden, did you decide that you needed to go to Asher?
Because I was planning to take him out into the country and kill him.
Okay. So, when you got him at the dorm, was your intention never to go to Walmart?
Yes, sir.
You was, in fact, was you at that point already in your mind was going to take him and kill him?
Yes, sir.
Had he done something to you?
No, sir.
Notice the voice inflection when asked if Gennaro had done anything wrong.
Had he done something to you?
No, sir.
Almost like he's offended by the question on Gennaro's behalf. He wants to make sure his motive isn't misinterpreted. So before we get to his self-ascribed motive, this is a perfect time for us to discuss the known mental health factors that might have played a role here. So when we begin our research, we learn that there are some internet rumors as well as some conflicting expert reports on Murray dating back as far as 2012, which have made a lot of people understandably confused about the specific mental health factors involved in this case. First of all, it has been speculated by amateur analysts that Jerrod's peculiar behavior in this interview was characteristic of Asperger's syndrome. Mostly his communication style and ability to remember specific details most people would forget, like the dent on Gennaro's truck. Now, in 2013, Asperger's syndrome was discontinued as a standalone diagnosis, being officially grouped into autism spectrum disorder in the DSM-5. Yet you can still find debates online about whether Jerrod has Asperger's syndrome or autism. While I admit some of his behavior does seem typical of someone with ASD, this was not concluded by any professionals who worked with him, and many of these symptoms can be associated with other mood and personality disorders as well. Further, it's not typical of people with ASD to display violent or criminal behavior, and something like murder is very rare for people with this disorder. So that's one source of confusion. Jerrod was not diagnosed with any form of ASD, and now we'll get a look at what the experts did conclude. So 2 initial reports were made semi-public at the hearings and partially reported on in the news. One from an expert witness psychiatrist hired by the prosecutors, and one from an expert witness psychiatrist for Jerrod's defense. They were largely congruent in their assessments, and both actually concluded that he didn't know right from wrong at the time of committing the crime. Dr. Sean Robertson for the prosecution concluded Murray suffered from severe mental illness, specifically schizoaffective disorder, bipolar type. So schizoaffective disorder is, like schizophrenia, a psychotic disorder. This rare mental illness is related to both schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, or major depressive disorder, and the bipolar type is what Jerrod was diagnosed with. In order to receive a schizoaffective disorder diagnosis, someone must meet all the primary criteria for schizophrenia and have prominent mood disorder symptoms as well. And according to the DSM-5, the primary criteria for schizophrenia includes 2 or more of the following: delusions, hallucinations, disorganized speech, grossly disorganized or catatonic behavior, and other negative symptoms such as flat expressions, loss of pleasure, lack of motivation or avolition, etc. I think it can be argued that Jerrod meets all of these requirements, except perhaps disorganized speech, and that symptom isn't always persistent. Quote, Mr. Murray detailed extensive grandiose and delusional beliefs, psychologist Sean Robertson for the prosecution wrote in a February report. Although he knew that it was illegal and he haphazardly tried to evade authorities, he conveyed that he came to believe that it was required that he must kill someone. He eventually chose the victim in this case based upon his perception of that victim's role in the world, a world in which Mr. Murray viewed himself as the king. He believed that it was fate, or it would not have occurred at all. So here we see Dr. Robertson has been able to identify deep grandiose narcissistic tendencies in Jerrod's personality, and a clear delusion in the belief that he had to kill someone, and an extreme degree of fatalism which he believed to be directing his actions. In discussing the dark triad of personality traits, which are narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy, it's just an interesting side note here that Jerrod seems to lack one of the 3, being Machiavellianism, since his actions are very poorly planned and disorganized, and he seems to completely lack any desire or ability to manipulate, unlike Machiavellianism, which is centered around manipulative behavior and usually requires some level of planning and deliberate action. It's terrifying to think what Murray could have done to society with that additional trait, and that's why the Dark Triad is such an interesting construct to study. Back to the case, Dr. Teresa Hall for Jerrod's defense made similar conclusions about Murray's mental health. Quote, his explanation of his thinking at the time is quite irrational, she reported. He explains he thought he was receiving stage directions that a life had to be taken, and he would meditate and the thought of death would come to him, making him feel, quote, light and good. He called himself a creature of impulse, the defense expert also noted. She stated that she found Murray to be grandiose, and that he bragged about devising a new energy source that will make him rich. Later reports from a different professional working with Murray would reveal his secret energy source would be devised by, quote, tapping into the space-time continuum. A friend also reported that Murray claimed he could see and talk to ghosts, and his sister said he told her about seeing and talking to ghosts on 2 separate occasions. Now, it may be that ghosts are real, but it also may be that this is evidence of persistent hallucinations, which really adds a layer of context to what might have been going on in this situation. Quote, at the time of the events of December 6, 2012, Mr. Murray was suffering from an untreated mental illness, characterized by serious mood and psychotic symptoms, the defense expert wrote. He had delusions of being directed to kill. It was later reported in a local newspaper that Jerrod Murray suffers from antisocial personality disorder and was sent to the Oklahoma Forensic Center for treatment rather than to prison. The problem here is that Jerrod actually doesn't meet the diagnostic requirements for antisocial personality disorder according to the DSM-5, which requires a childhood history of antisocial behavior that isn't present in Murray's case. And I can't find any record of him officially receiving this diagnosis. While he does display practically all of the characteristics associated with ASPD, because of the lack of childhood misconduct, he can't really be diagnosed with ASPD. He claims to have beaten up some bullies in elementary school that were picking on him, but there really needs to be a more documented history of misconduct at an early age to receive a proper ASPD diagnosis. His record is totally clean. His school record and his police record, it's totally clean in terms of, violent misconduct. The reason for this strict diagnostic procedure is that since Jerrod's symptoms don't appear to have been present in his childhood, they may be circumstantial and not genetic, and therefore he may be able to be successfully treated and even released back into society. So it really matters what he's diagnosed with, and it really matters what his actual condition is. People diagnosed with ASPD and who have ASPD are usually considered beyond rehabilitation and unlikely to ever be released back into society. Jerrod was deemed innocent by reason of insanity because he was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, and a symptom of that disorder is psychosis. And it was shown that Jerrod's psychosis may have played a role in his decision to commit murder. Now, this caused a lot of controversy in Oklahoma because many people don't feel that this law is just, or they don't feel that there was justice served in this case. They feel that mental illness is really no excuse for committing murder, and it certainly shouldn't be used by psychopaths, for a lack of a better term, to skirt the law, or to have dangerous individuals released back into society without being faced with the consequences of their actions. Their case was heavily bolstered when, just 1 month after Jerrod was sent to the OFC for treatment, psychologist Peter Rausch reported that he was not suffering from any major mental health issues, and he was not an immediate danger to the public. Therefore, by law, through Dr. Rausch's testimony, Jerrod could be released back to his normal life after just a month at the OFC. To quote Dr. Rausch, during several interviews spanning the past month, Mr. Murray did not exhibit any substantial signs of mental illness. While his rate of speech was at times fast, it never reached the level that it was pressured, Rausch wrote in his 5-page report. Additionally, while he voiced some ideas that could be perceived as odd, they were not delusional. Rausch made those conclusions even though the report noted that Murray, quote, did state that he was a fatalist and that he believes all events are predetermined by God. Quote, he also related that he had planned on obtaining advanced degrees in chemistry and physics, and that he had ideas for how to develop a new energy source via the space-time continuum. Now, I don't have a great deal more information about how or why Dr. Rausch came to those conclusions, but needless to say, the judge in Murray's case denied his immediate release and ordered 2 more expert reports on Murray's condition, and they both concluded that he was still very much a danger to society and shouldn't be released. In fact, one of them said that he was the most dangerous person in the facility at the OFC. Through this controversy, the law was actually amended in Oklahoma to prevent this from happening in the future, and there's a lot of nuance to discuss there, which maybe you guys can pick up on in the comments, but for now we'll just return to the interview and Jerrod's self-ascribed motive for the killing, with the knowledge that he is, in layman's terms, about as crazy as it gets.
Okay, so can you kind of tell me when you made this decision that you were going to take him and kill him, why?
I made the decision 3 days prior to the incident. Attempted it 2 days prior to the incident, but he was not in his room, and then did so today as he was in his room.
Okay, so you've been planning this for 2 days?
2 weeks, yes.
2 weeks.
But not with a selected individual, no.
Okay. And when did you get to the point where you knew it was going to be him?
That was 3 days prior to the incident.
And why him? Of all the kids in college here, why him?
I believed that he would have had the least impact, sir.
Impact of on what?
I believed he didn't have many friends, or many close friends, I should rephrase. And as his, as he is going missing, his absence would be less notable.
Okay, so would have been if tomorrow at school nobody would have thought anything of it.
That was the plan, sir, yes.
Okay. And so why did you choose to take him to Asher to kill him? When
My plan was for after my killing him, I was going to head north towards Canada. And Asher was further north than Ada, so.
okay.
That and I know the surrounding terrain and I knew a good spot. I didn't have that spot planned in particular. If I had planned that far ahead, I would have had a grave dug. But I knew a general area.
Okay.
Again, here we're confronted with the potential horrors had Jerrod more Machiavellian traits. As he goes on to describe the details of the murder, pay attention to how disorganized and impulsive he is, particularly the moment he chooses to kill Gennaro.
So you brought him to that area because you knew that area because you was raised there,
Yes, sir.
and that's the road that you would travel going back and forth to your mom and dad's house.
No, sir. I would travel the road further to the south of it, just the road one south to it. That's the road I would travel going to my mother's house from the school on my bus route, sir.
Okay, but what I'm saying, you were familiar with that road?
Yes, sir.
and-
Yes, sir.
And where it would go to?
Yes, sir.
Not much traffic on that road at this time, but,
Yes, sir.
I mean-
The only people that go on that road are those that live on that road, sir.
and you knew that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when you pulled the gun on him at Walmart, in the parking lot,
Yes, sir.
what did you tell him?
I told him to take me to Ada, Asher.
Asher. And did he say anything?
He panicked, went to pull out his phone. I yanked the phone out of his hand, and then he panicked some more, kept telling me not to kill him. To make him feel more comfortable, I unloaded the clip, unloaded the bullet from the chamber, handed them over to him, and that eased his nerves a little. Then I pulled a second clip out of my pocket and set it on my lap.
Okay. And you drove him to, so he drove you?
Yes, sir.
And did you have any conversation between Ada and Asher?
The entire time was a conversation, sir.
And was it basically, what, can you tell me what that conversation was?
About from Ada to halfway to Asher, it was just my trying to reaffirm him that I wasn't going to kill him to calm his nerves. And then from that point on, we was talking on our upbringings, our past, our family histories, things of more philosophical nature, etc., etc.
Okay. And so did he say anything when you had him to pull off of the main highway onto this dirt road?
No, sir.
Okay.
Before this time, I had pulled out his phone and pulled up his GPS and showed him where I lived to make him feel more comfortable, sir.
Okay. And so when you turn west off of 177 and we've already talked about this, there's a substation there.
We didn't pull onto that road, sir. We pulled onto the road to the south of it, drove past Turkey Hill one road, turned left, went to around where the Bows lived, made another left, past Woodhaven Lake Estates, went straight, then went down that road from the other direction.
So you came in from the west side of where the pickup's at?
West heading east, yes.
Okay. And so you're headed east on what is known as Substation Road, which is the road where the pickup
Yes, sir.
is at now.
Yes, sir.
So you're heading east and he's driving.
Yes,
And
sir.
you're on the passenger side. He's got some bullets that you gave him?
He had a clip and one round, yes.
Okay. And where was it at?
In his left hand, sir.
Okay. And you had a gun.
Yes, sir.
And what kind of gun was it?
Springfield Armory XD 40 Smith & Wesson 40 caliber.
Okay. And you had the gun and another magazine, but you didn't have the magazine in the gun.
I did not have the magazine in the gun. Every 5 to 10 minutes he had me put my finger in the hole where the clip goes and show that the round, it wasn't chambered.
Okay. And so you're driving east, and so I guess at some point, did you decide now was the time?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what happened?
I loaded the gun quickly, chambered the round quickly, shot once, missed, Shot a second time, hit.
So the moment he chose to commit the murder is very telling. It speaks to his level of impulsiveness and lack of organization. He shot the driver of a moving vehicle, which he was a passenger of.
I loaded the gun quickly, chambered the round quickly, shot once, missed, shot a second time, hit, jumped out of the car, went around. He was driving 10-15 miles an hour, so it was rather slow. Ran around the hood of the car, and of course it was slow when he wasn't purposefully driving. Tried to pull him out, couldn't get him out until he already had hit the tree. Pulled him out there, dumped him into the, before I dumped him into the ditch, I heard him gurgling. I'm not sure if that was a physiological or physical process after death, but I thought that he might have still lived through that somehow, because he was gurgling, so I shot him again and then shoved him down in the ditch. I then got his phone.
Okay, hang on, let's back up just a second.
Yes, sir.
You fired the first round.
Yes, sir.
And you missed.
Yes, sir.
Do you know where that round hit?
I believe it hit the top of the door, but it might have hit the window.
Did the window bust?
The window did bust, sir, but I don't remember if that was the first or the second round.
Okay. So you fired once and missed.
Yes, sir.
And you fired a second round.
Yes, sir.
And did you hit him then?
Yes, sir.
And you hit him in the head?
In the side of the head, yes, sir.
Okay, so it would have been his right hand?
It was around here, sir.
The right-hand side of his head? Or
yes, sir.
Somewhere by the ear?
Yes, sir.
And he kind of started veering off the road?
To the left, sir.
Okay. And that's when you got out and ran around?
Yes, sir.
And you opened the door?
Yes, sir.
And you tried to pull him out?
Yes, sir.
And so when you shot, and he was still gurgling?
Yes, sir.
So was he setting up when you shot him in the head again?
No, sir. He was lying down on the ground.
So you pulled him out of the truck?
And just threw him on the ground, and then I heard him gurgling, so I shot him a second time.
And where did you hit him the second time?
I'm not certain, but I believe the head as well.
Okay, the front, back, side?
I believe it was the same side as before.
Same side as before?
Yes, sir.
So you think you hit him twice, or you know you've hit him in fact once in the head?
Yes, sir.
And then the second round is probably in the head area too?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then you rode him down the ditch?
Yes, sir.
And what did you do then?
I grabbed his phone from inside the vehicle. I was going to put it on the ground and shoot it as well, but I have a bit of night blindness and didn't see the steepness of the hill where it started to veer down. Mm-hmm. So when I threw it down, it slid down the hill and landed screen side down, so I wasn't able to find its location.
Okay. So his phone is somewhere around his body?
Yes, it should be.
Okay.
It might be underneath his body.
Okay. And did you do something with the body after that?
Yes, sir. I repositioned it and then tried to cover it, admittedly not well, with leaves, dirts, and stick.
Remember earlier when he described the crime and offered just a few details more than he was asked? That was because he was beginning to relish in the interview. He already knew in his mind exactly how he wanted to describe his actions and present himself, and really he saw this interview as the main payoff for his actions. I'll explain that more in a moment. But early on, he wasn't positive he'd get the chance to really go over the details like he's doing now, so he prematurely offered some of those details in the beginning, and that's why we sort of saw him eager to espouse the details. Now later we're going to see he's asked again directly for his motive. He says perhaps it was to test his resolve. So if he were asked to explain why he's being so upfront and direct in this interview, he would likely say the same thing. This interview, and being able to describe his crime without showing any emotional response, in his mind further proves his resolve. He's not proud of the murder per se, at least that's what he says, but he appears to believe that he was directed by God or the universe or whatever to do this act, and he feels that he proved himself to whatever it was that he was under the control of. That's some pretty extreme fatalism, and perhaps that's why most philosophies should be taken in doses, and less so perhaps for those suffering from intense mental illness.
Okay. A stick?
Yes, sir. There was a stick on the side of the hill. I just grabbed everything on the side of the hill and pushed it on top of him.
Okay. Now, when you say a stick, and I was at the scene, I went down there, and you know that.
Yes, sir.
We actually brought you back down there, and had you sat in the car down there, correct? Mm-hmm. And there is a stick, it's about 3 foot long, about inch and a half in diameter.
Yes,
It's
sir.
right across the body, but there's a whole bunch of blood on it. Is there any particular reason that stick?
It had blood on it?
Mm-hmm.
It could be because I rolled his body on top of it, because if it was on the side of the hill, his body would have crossed over it. I couldn't think of any reason in particular, though.
Okay, so you didn't hit him with a stick or do anything with him with a stick?
No, sir.
Okay, so that stick just ended up on top of him.
Yes, sir.
So it's possible he could have rolled him over on it, and then when you was covering him up, that stick just ended up on top of the body.
It ended up on top of him because of the way I covered him up, yeah.
And so, after you got the body covered up, what did you do then?
I headed back to the truck and tried to get it unstuck.
So you put it in reverse and tried to...
And then drive and tried to, and it wasn't going. So after that, I
So when you say it wasn't going, it was because it was stuck?
I believe one of the wheels was off the ground and it wasn't making traction.
Okay. And so you could get the truck out, so what did you do then?
I looked to the left, and from the headlights I saw that I could still see his own shirt, so I covered him up better. And as I was finishing that, I saw the headlights from a car pulling over the hill. So I went down, and
Which way was it coming from?
it was heading west from the east side,
Okay.
so from the highway.
Huh.
And he was slowing down already, so I just came out as quickly as I could from behind the truck and flagged him down by waving my hands. And he asked what was going on. I told him that I had dozed off and veered off the road and couldn't get my truck unstuck. Then he was, I don't think he knew exactly what happened, but I think he knew I did something. Maybe stealing, I don't know. Because like you said, no one travels down that road.
Did you know him?
No, sir, I did not know him.
Okay.
But since no one travels down that road, and he most likely lived in that area, he knew that I didn't.
Okay.
So, most likely, he was suspicious just from that fact alone.
Okay.
Because I had no business being on that road. But he agreed to give me a ride to Asher, nonetheless. More specifically, he didn't agree to that until his phone didn't work. We pulled up to about the highway, then he dialed a number for me. I gave him a fake number, that way it wouldn't answer, and if it did answer, then I could just make something up. Whenever it didn't answer, it was a phone that was out of service. He agreed to take me into Asher so I could get my cellular phone, I don't own a cellular phone, to call someone that I knew that could get me out.
Okay. And what did he take you to in Asher?
My grandparents' house.
Okay. And what is your grandparents' name?
Ethel, I don't know if it's Lone Lodge or Roderick now.
Okay. And so he took you, and what do you know their address in Asher?
306 East Salter Street.
Okay. And that's where he took you to?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you got out?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what'd you do then?
I went into the house. I had a Coca-Cola. I called my roommate from college and told him that I had an accident and wondered if he could either get me out of the ditch or knew anyone that could get me out of the ditch.
And what's your roommate's name?
Shane Schroth.
Okay.
Then,
Does he have a cell phone?
yes, sir.
And do you know that number?
Not off the top of my head, sir, but if I had a phone, I could tell you. It's like one...
I know.
Alright, I can tell you it now. 1-405-694-0359.
694.
0359.
And what's his name again?
Shane Schroth.
And he goes to school there?
Yes, he also graduated from Asher with the class.
With now we talked before, and you didn't actually graduate from Asher.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But you would have graduated with him?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what's his last name?
Schroth. S-C-H-R-O-T-H.
Okay, so he knew you from Asher.
Yes.
Okay.
And we were roommates also in college because we were fairly good friends.
Okay, so you guys in the same dorm, same room.
Yes.
Okay. And so you told him you were stuck.
Yes, I told him that I'd ran my car off the ditch and asked if he knew anyone that could get me out.
Okay. Do you own a car?
No, sir.
Did he not know this?
He didn't ask, sir.
Here we see perhaps the beginning of Jerrod's first lie that we're aware of. It's not known to the public how this conversation with the roommate went exactly, but it's later reported that he mentioned that he had completed Objective A. So while he was talking to his roommate, he said, "I've completed Objective A," and he didn't tell that to the officers in this interview, or to the undersheriff. This one statement was basically a major concern by the public and by the police because obviously they assumed he must have had Objective B, C, D planned, so they were wondering if he was actually planning to kill a lot more people. So that's basically the first lie that he tells, kind of a small lie, but later, shortly in this video, we see that he tells a pretty convincing lie about his interaction with the roommate's parents. I mentioned earlier that Jerrod is a master at telling lies, and I'll stop the video again right after his biggest lie. But pay attention for any signs over the next several minutes that he's lying.
Okay. And what did he tell you?
He said he would try to call his mother to see if his father could do it for me, and they were asleep, so there was no answer. So at that point I decided I should go off on my own.
Okay.
And I got that can of WD-40 and was going...
Where'd you get this can of WD-40 at?
I stole it from his parents.
Okay. Let's back up just a second.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because you said you was at your grandparents'.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How did you get to his parents' house?
He lives on the other side of Asher. I walked.
Okay, when you say the other side of Asher, help me out. East of Asher, west Asher, north, or?
South Asher.
Okay, south of Asher. South of the quick stops?
No, it's in the town, just on the south side.
Okay, you don't know their address?
No, sir.
Okay. So you walked after, I'm just trying to understand this,
Yes,
okay? So you called him from your grandparents' house?
Yes, sir.
And then he tried to call his parents?
Yes, sir.
And no answer?
No answer, sir.
So you got your grandparents' house?
Yes, sir.
And you walked to his mom and dad's house?
Yes, sir.
About how far is that from your grandparents' house?
Not far at all. It's maybe 8 to 9 blocks. I don't know mileage there.
Okay, and you walked to their house?
Yes, sir.
And did you knock on the door, or?
I just got the can of WD-40.
And where was it at?
Outside, sir.
On the porch, or
They live in a trailer house, sir. It was to the right of their entryway.
just sitting on the ground, or?
Sitting on top of a milk crate.
So maybe you've got a good eye for these things, and you notice that the entire segment was actually full of really quite unbelievable lies. It's easier when you're looking for it, but when you're in a conversation with somebody, and despite the circumstances, Jerrod is in fact being quite conversational, it's a lot harder to unravel a rapidly spun web of lies like this. And even if you spot one or two, you're still usually left without the bigger picture. In this case, the bigger picture being the one thing that Jerrod is trying to hide. The fact that he actually did meet up with Shane's dad, who gave Jerrod the can of WD-40, and then gave Jerrod a ride back toward the crime scene so he could use the WD-40 to remove his fingerprints from the vehicle, which is just a stroke of pure genius considering the hot, steaming pile of evidence he's already left behind, not to mention the dude who he had drop him off at his grandparents'. And now the next day he's going to be the only person missing when they go to look for Gennaro. I mean, was he really expecting anyone to believe his roommate didn't ask where he got his new car in the middle of the night? It's just such an odd idea to return to the crime scene to remove his fingerprints after what had transpired. And it's even more odd that he's telling all these lies to protect his friend's dad. This is one piece of evidence that suggests he might not be very sociopathic at all. It sort of comes back to that idea of him testing his resolve to commit murder. So, not so much that he enjoys it or that he doesn't feel any emotions at all, more so just that he decided he wanted to do it, or that it was fate that he was going to do it, or that something told him to do it, depending on which psychiatrist you want to listen to. Regardless, it really doesn't seem like he suffers from antisocial personality disorder. Now, it would be easy to make fun of all this behavior and his silly lies as, rather unintelligent behavior, especially given the fact that Jerrod seems to think he's quite intelligent. But really, it's just a sign of how scattered his brain was, and of the severe mental illness that he was suffering from. It's actually just sad that he wasn't able to get treatment before he ruined his own life and the lives of others.
And so, why did you get the WD-40?
WD-40 is a solvent. It would help degrade the oils from my fingers and get rid of my fingerprints, sir.
Okay, so you're gonna take this kind of WD-40 and go back to the crime scene and use WD-40 on the pickup
Yes, sir.
to try to get rid of your fingerprints?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you do that?
No, sir. When I was on my way back, as opposed to going down the road directly to it, I cut through a forest area there by an abandoned trailer house. And as I was entering the general area of the crime scene, I heard, I believe it was an elderly gentleman cough. I'm not sure who, I'm not sure what. I just left. Because, well, around that area, the man who gave me a ride to town was an elderly gentleman. I concluded he might have went back, and the headlights and the brake lights were still on. I thought he might have went to turn them off, so my battery wouldn't die. And then he saw the, at least the blood, probably the body, though the body wasn't well hidden at all.
Okay. So
That's the conclusion I reached anyways.
you was in the woods,
Yes, sir.
and so you don't really know who it was.
I just heard an elderly gentleman cough.
Could you see the pickup?
No, sir.
Okay. So you couldn't see the pickup,
No, sir.
and so you'd been, were you on the south side of the road in the woods?
Yes, sir.
And so, but you never could see the pickup again or know who was there.
No, sir.
Okay. So what did you do then?
I headed back east instead of south, took a different route to get out of the wooded area, ran into a barbed wire fence, jumped the barbed wire fence, headed south along another barbed wire fence I found next to the highway. Well, you couldn't see the highway, but you could easily hear it, and I could see the substation from there pretty clearly. Headed south along that, came across another barbed wire fence, jumped it, and then headed to where I started out at that abandoned trailer house there. Then walked away, headed north.
Yeah, the abandoned trailer house, is it south of the substation?
Yes, it's south of the substation.
And about how far?
Maybe 100 yards.
And you know what side of the road it's on?
West side.
West side? Okay.
It's up the ways a little. It's in you know how trailer houses out in the country, they'll have driveways that lead to them. So I'm not sure if you can see it from the highway or not, and the driveway's run down. I happen to know no one lives there, so I figured that was the perfect vantage point to get to the crime scene again.
Okay. So, did you get back on the highway?
Yes, sir.
And which way did you go?
North, sir.
And what were your intentions? You were walking north.
Canada, sir.
You was going to Canada.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I had hoped that by determining that I was heading south, you went to Asher, you would have known my grandparents' house, and I was hoping that my name would probably show up somewhere in the course of this little thing. I didn't expect it to be found so quickly.
And why didn't you think it would be found so quick?
I didn't think someone would drive down that road. In my original plan,
Okay.
I gave myself maybe 6 to 8 hours to get out of the area. But since it was found so quickly, at least I believed so at the time, I didn't want to revise the plan because I had headed south originally going into town.
Okay.
And I was hoping you'll think that I was heading towards Mexico, as it's much closer and probably easier to get past the border.
Okay, and so you was walking north on 177?
Yes, sir.
And what side of the road was you on?
I was on the right side of the road, sir.
Okay, so if you're going...
East side.
East side. And you was walking?
Yes, sir.
And what happened then?
I had tried hitchhiking most of the way because the only way this was going to work, factoring in my belief that y'all found the crime scene, is if someone were to give me a ride there and then. However, that didn't happen. Most of the people were truckers, so they just kept driving. They had a place to go. And then whenever your patrol car was pulling up behind me, I didn't know it was a patrol car. I stuck my thumb out and you was there for the rest.
Now, I still have a lot more to say about this case, but the video is getting a bit long at this point, so I'll just let some more of the interview play and then cut it off. We will revisit this case in the future to answer any questions you might have in the comments, and I'll leave a link to the full interview in the description below, so go ahead and check that out. As always, if you like this kind of content, we really appreciate if you'll give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out.
And that's when that's when me and you first came in contact, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you advised them to get on the ground, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's when I had you put your hands behind your back.
Yes, sir.
And then when I approached you, I asked you, for my safety and your safety, did you have a gun?
Yes, sir.
And you said no.
Yes, sir.
And you remember what else you said?
I might have mentioned the ammunition in my left pocket, sir.
Yes, sir. And then what else?
I'm the one you're looking for.
And at that point, I told you to be quiet. And I got you, read your rights to you. Is that correct?
I'm not sure. But if you're saying it's correct.
Well, no, do you remember that conversation that when you said?
No, sir.
I said, well, hang on just a second.
Yeah, you did say that. Yes, sir.
So I
yes,
could read
sir.
your rights to you.
Yes, sir.
And I read your rights to you at that point.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I wasn't aware you was telling me to be quiet. I thought you was just saying I need to read your rights.
But I told you, you do remember me saying be quiet for a second?
Yeah, hold on a second.
Yeah, hold on a second.
Something to that effect, yes.
Okay. Okay, Jerrod, and we've talked about this, and you told me the gun, you got the gun in the pickup.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And me and you've talked, and I told you that, you know, you've already told us about the homicide.
Yes, sir.
And you told us about shooting them.
Yes, sir.
The gun's not in the truck.
It was in the truck, sir.
And so I need to know where that gun's at.
When I left the scene, it was in the truck, sir.
It was still in the truck.
It was still in the truck, sir.
Where was it at in the truck?
It was, I believe it was on the center console, but it's possible it could have been between the driver's seat and the center console.
Okay, because the center console is pushed up. It's not down.
I don't remember that.
Okay. Well, you kept saying it was on the center console. To be on the center console would have to be in the down position, correct?
Yes, sir.
The center console is up. So was it up or down when you was there?
I think it was down, sir.
Okay. So, but your intentions, can I ask you why you'd leave with a gun there if you just killed somebody and you was trying to get to Canada?
Because that man pulled up too quickly, sir.
Okay. And was that your gun?
No, sir.
And where did you get that gun from?
I stole it 2 weeks ago from a man named Daniel Davis, 217 North Division Street.
Now where's Division Street?
It's the, if you're going down Old 18 and entering Asher.
What town is it in?
Asher, Oklahoma.
And his name's Daniel Davis?
Yes.
And how did you steal it from his house?
I went into his house. His family and my family are on good terms. I just walked in the door and went back to his mother's room and told her that I had a video game to return to Daniel. Then I went into Daniel's room, put a video game that I brought with me as a way to get into the door, and got the gun.
Okay. And so was it in a box or was it?
Yes, sir. It was in a case.
Okay. And where's the case at?
It's still at his house, sir.
Okay, so you took the gun out of the case?
I took the gun in 2 clips, sir.
Okay.
All the clips.
And where's there? So there's just 2?
Yes, sir.
And where's there ammunition in them?
Yes, sir. There was 12 rounds in each clip. Since I fired 3 rounds from that one clip, that means there's 9 rounds in it, should be. And the other clip had 11 rounds in it because one was chambered, and the other round was, I unchambered it and handed it to him.
Okay. Now when I brought you in here and we was uncuffing you, was just checking the pockets of your jacket to make sure you didn't have any weapons in your pockets, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I pulled out this can of WD-40 out of your right coat pocket.
Yes, sir.
And in your left coat pocket, there is a purple Crown Burrow bag.
Yes, sir.
And I took that out of your pocket.
Yes, sir.
And can you tell me what's in here?
Smith & Wesson .40 caliber round, sir.
And was in part of the rounds that you stole the guns?
No, sir. I bought those 2 or 3 days later off of a friend of mine, sir.
Just that many rounds?
That plus what was in the clip, sir. So there was 12 and 12-24 plus whatever in there.
Okay, no, but you said that there was already, the magazines already had bullets in them.
No, sir. I loaded them with the ammunition I bought, sir.
Okay, so when you stole the gun in the magazines, there was no bullets with it?
No bullets were in it, sir.
Okay, so what was in the 2 magazines?
Nothing, sir.
No.
Oh, as for the ammunition, yes, sir.
And what's in here? You bought off of a friend?
Yes, sir.
And you know his name?
Not off the top of my head, sir.
Does he go to college?
No, sir. I call him a friend, but he's just a guy.
Okay. And where's he from?
Ada, sir.
Okay. Do you know how to get a hold of him, or?
No, sir.
Okay.
It's a guy I know through a guy. I just got the word out I was looking for some ammunition, and then a friend of mine sold it to me. So.
Do you know how many rounds are in here?
No, sir. I believe there is anywhere between 3 to 6, though.
Okay, so it'd be, without pulling them out, there's somewhere between 3 to 6 rounds of 40 caliber ammunition, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And your intentions is the gun, when you got around in Dasher after you shot this young man, that the gun was still in the truck?
Yes, sir.
And with the magazines?
Yes, sir. One of the magazines. As he was holding one of the other magazine, I believe it fell out of the truck whenever I pushed him out. I didn't see it in the floorboard before I left because I was trying to gather it all up. But I think he might still have it in his left hand. I know he was holding it in his left hand.
Okay, but
at the crime scene, there were 2 magazines.
there should have been the
Yes.
gun, the magazine that was in the gun,
Yes.
the 1 round that you handed him,
Yes.
and then the full magazine
Yes.
that he hit. So we're talking about a total of how many rounds? You said there was both of them had 12 in it?
Yes, sir.
So that we should have, you fired 3 rounds, correct?
Yes, sir.
So there should be 21 rounds and 2 magazines there, and a gun.
Yes, sir. Plus, yes, sir. 21 rounds, 2 magazines and a gun.
Okay. All right. And also in your pocket, there was a debit card, MasterCard, that has the name Jerrod Murray.
Murray.
And that's you, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this is yours?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Jerrod, I want to ask you just to sit here for just a second, and I'll be right back, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Jerrod, I got a couple other things I really need to tie down, all right?
Yes, sir.
And I believe you when you're being honest with me. I really do. You've told me stuff that I have no qualms about what you tell me, except for a couple of things. I know for a fact you didn't get the WD-40 from the front yard.
You're right. I planned on keeping him out of this, but I did go into his house. He did give it to me, and yeah.
And when you say who, and when you say him, who are you?
The parent of the friend that I called.
You might recall my saying Jerrod is a master at telling lies. Now, I didn't exactly say he's a master at sticking to them. In this case, however, it's a little strange. Obviously, he comes out right away, and it seems like he immediately crumbles under pressure. But in reality, this actually shows, it says to me, that he's quite confident in his lies. And I'll explain that now. He thinks that he's so good at telling lies that there's no way they could have detected that lie or known that he was being dishonest about the can of WD-40 unless they had already went and talked to the parent of the friend and ascertained that information another way. So as soon as they come to him with the accusation that he's lying about the can of WD-40, he immediately knows, well, obviously the parent has given himself up, so he immediately confesses. Really, it doesn't say anything about his inability to tell lies. It just actually says more about his awkward honesty, which is paired with the ability to be deceptive at any moment that he pleases. So anyways, I promise that's the last thing I'm going to say about this one. Again, if you're enjoying the video, please hit the like button and subscribe, and stick around for the next one.
Shane's father. The stepfather, yes.
And you know his name?
Michael Norris.
Okay. And what did you tell Michael?
I told him about what had happened and asked for his opinion on my next course of action.
Okay, you mean you told him what happened, what do you mean?
The murder. I told him about
So you told Shane's father about the murder you just did?
Not the specifics, but the general picture, yes.
Okay, can you remember what you told him?
Not exactly, but I mean, I didn't tell him I fired 3 shots, missed 1, shot him in the head. Not all that. I just said that I got a truck, I killed the guy for it, it's in the ditch.
Okay. Did you tell him how you did it?
I don't remember, but I might have.
Okay. And this is really important. I want you to really think about this, because you said you're trying to keep him out of trouble.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know more than you think I know.
Yes, sir.
So, I'm still got the gun.
Yes, sir.
It's not in the truck.
It was when I left the scene. That was the whole point of him taking me back, so I could get it.
Okay. So he took you back to the scene?
No,
You said you walked.
No. He drove me to the abandoned house that I spoke of, yes.
Okay, so Mr. Norris gave you the count WD-40.
Yes, sir.
And I believe he probably got that from his bathroom of his house.
I'm not aware of where he got it, but if that's where he says, then yeah.
Okay. And so he drove you from Asher back to
The area of the scene.
just south of where you would turn on Substation Road.
Yes, sir.
And that's where the abandoned trailer house is on the west side.
Yes, sir.
And so you got out of the car and walked up to the abandoned trailer house, down through the woods,
Yes, sir.
and then that's when you heard somebody cough?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There is a note wrote on a piece of paper, like a business card on the passenger side window, stuck on the pickup. The window's up, and there's a note stuck in there. It says, "Come to the house at the end of the road." Did you write that?
No, sir.
Huh?
No, sir.
You didn't write that?
No, sir.
You have any idea how that note could have got there?
No, sir. I don't think anything like that was there whenever I left.
Okay. So is it a possibility that the gentleman,
Yes.
Yeah.
When I was on the way back into Asher, he had told me that some thieves stole about $1,000 worth of guns of his, and that he was looking for them, and if he found them, he would kill them dead on the side of the road. Then I said $1,000 is a fair amount of money, and he said it didn't matter if it was 50, he doesn't like thieves.
so is it possible that he could have, on his way home, he could have stopped and wrote that note?
Yes, that's a possibility. I won't deny that. Like I said, I thought it might have been him that called the police. I still don't know if it was or not, but I thought it might have been him. He went to turn my lights off and then saw the blood and then called, but if he did write that note, then I don't think he would have called the police.
Okay. I just want to go over a couple of points with you, and then we're going to take another break, okay?
Yes, sir.
And you started this out that you've actually had this on your mind for about 3 weeks,
Yes, sir.
and you just didn't know who.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Or when. Or where. Well, I had a general idea of the area, but that was picked out about a week ago, sir.
Okay. And was that picked out because of just being familiar or where the
Yes, sir.
surroundings?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so let's go back to our victim, the young man that you killed.
Gennaro.
You just basically picked him out because you thought that nobody would miss him, if I understood what you...
In general, yes, sir.
Okay. And you told me that on the way to, you guys talked from Ada to Asher
Yes, sir.
about your upbringings.
Yes, sir.
Was your upbringing any different from his?
Yes, sir.
And what was the difference between your upbringing and his?
Nothing major. I mean, we didn't talk on the topic of upbringings for very long. He just said that he was always fat and overweight and got made fun of it, so he had confidence issues. And then I said I had that problem, but that problem stopped in about the 5th grade, so, yeah.
And why did it stop?
The bullies that picked on me, I beat them up.
Okay. And was that at Asher?
Yes.
Okay. So you basically beat him up, not because you just wanted to beat him up, but because they was making fun of you.
To stop them from making fun of me, yes.
Okay, I can understand that. Have you done any other thing that's been violent?
Yes, sir. The mutual friend that I talked about, that I know him through, his name is Wyatt Freeman. He lives across the hall from me. I don't know his room number. It's directly across the hall, though. Maybe a month and a half into college, we had hung out almost every night, play video games. It was all fun and games, you know. And I was talking to him, and then the topic of fighting was brought up. And then he said, if I got you in a chokehold, you would tap out. And I said, I'm not going to tap out. And then he got me in a chokehold, and I was knocked unconscious. And when I woke up, everyone in the room was laughing at me. And then he said that there was no way I was knocked unconscious in that short an amount of time. And then I punched him in the face. And then he pushed me away and told me to get out of his room. Then I spat in his face and left his room. And then he came to my room and had a flashlight that I dropped out of my pocket. And was holding it and said, "This is your flashlight." I went to reach for it. He pulled me into the hallway and was going to beat me for it. And then I told him that I was going to let him beat me, and then whenever they came to break it up, I'd be the one with all the injuries and it would be his fault.
Okay.
And then the East Central University police responded to that.
Okay. And his first name is what?
Wyatt.
What?
I'm not quite sure how to spell that. Freeman is his last.
Okay. Jerrod, I want to ask you just point blank, because, I mean, you sat here and confessed to
Pretty much everything.
in my mind, and I think you might agree with me, just cold-bloodedly killed a young man tonight.
Yes, sir.
Or last night. Have you ever killed anybody else?
No, sir.
Okay. Have you ever thought of it?
More myself than anyone else, sir.
Okay. And when's the last time you thought about killing yourself?
3 weeks ago, sir.
Okay. And what was going on 3 weeks ago?
Nothing in particular. My grandfather died recently, but that's not related to it. Before his death, I had similar thoughts almost as frequently.
Your grandfather is the same grandfather that you cut the ride to, back to his house tonight, or a different one?
Yes, my grandparents' house. He lived there with my grandmother, yes.
Okay, so your grandfather's dead?
Yes, sir.
And so your grandmother is by herself?
She had a friend over, but yeah.
But, okay. Okay. Well, let me ask you this, Jerrod, are you taking any medications for any mental illness?
No, sir.
Have you ever?
No, sir.
Do you take drugs?
No, sir.
Have you ever taken drugs?
I smoked marijuana in my mid to early teenage years.
When's the last time you smoked marijuana?
Maybe 6 years ago, maybe 5.
You ever done any other type of drugs?
No, sir.
You're not on any medication?
No, sir. Just an albuterol inhaler for asthma, sir.
You do have asthma?
Yes, sir.
So, when let's go back to 3 weeks ago when you started planning that you was going to kill somebody.
Yes, sir.
And you just didn't know who or when.
Yes, sir.
What made last night the time and who? I kind of understand who.
As I stated earlier, it wasn't necessarily last night. I made the decision to do it, and who 3 days ago, and I tried. No, maybe Tuesday. I made the decision Tuesday. This whole saying days ago because it's a different day than it was yesterday. It was Tuesday that I made the decision it should be him. He wasn't in his dorm. I didn't try again. No. Maybe I did try again the day after. I don't remember the days anymore. It was Tuesday I made up my mind, though, on who it was, and I tried that night.
Okay. And I guess I'm having a hard time understanding what you got out of it. Can you help me?
I don't really get anything out of it.
I mean, but why, if you wasn't going to get some self-gratitude or something, why did you do it? I guess is what I'm asking.
If I'm pressed to answer, I'll say it's to prove the strength of my resolve. But that's only if I'm pressed to answer.
I'm not pressing you, I'm just trying to understand.
Then I don't know why.
Okay. So it just
Popped in my head. And,
popped in your head? And you
yes,
did.
sir.
Okay. But it's never popped in your head before?
Not other people, sir, no.
That you've never killed before?
No, sir.
Okay. Animals?
No, sir. I've never hunted. I know how to hunt. I know how to make a bow and arrow. I know how to field dress animals and whatnot, but I've never hunted before. No.
Okay. And when we was talking before, you indicated to me you did not graduate from...
No, sir. I flunked out.
Okay. So, when you say flunked out, was that because you just couldn't do it, or you just...
I didn't want to do my homework. The teachers at the school, as well as all faculty, admitted that I was the smartest person there. They knew I could do the work. I didn't see the point of doing it if they already know, and everyone knows that I can do it.
Well, that was my next question, because it don't make sense somebody that would flunk out of school would be at East Central.
That summer, and I've been going to an organization called Overbound Math and Science since maybe 3 years ago.
And would you do any other Brown and stuff in East Central?
Yes, that's...
So they have it in...
They have both Overbound Math and Science. It's obviously...
Right, but Central State College also does the same thing, so...
Yeah.
But I don't think you can get the math and science at Seminole State. I think that's just Upward.
It's just Upward Bound, yeah.
Okay. So you've been going to East Central Upward Bound?
For 3 years, yes, sir.
Okay. So,
and
what kind of grades are you making at college right now?
I believe I failed everything except for choices and wellness, sir.
Are you failing everything but choice?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And why is that?
Laziness, I would suppose, sir.
Okay.
Didn't feel like going to classes. I mean, if I was already up in the central area to eat a meal, I would go to classes. Because it's not like I have a problem going to classes. It's from the dorms to the central area, I was too lazy to travel that distance.
Not because you couldn't do the work?
Not because I couldn't do the work. I was passing most of my classes before then.
And what was your ambitions or your dreams to be?
I had hoped to become a chemist for the Department of Defense.
Kind of hard to do in Canada. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, sir.
And I want to ask you this, and you can answer if you want. I'm having a hard time.
Yes, sir.
Do you feel any remorse?
I'm sad that I got caught so quickly. But that's almost lessened by being caught by someone who has sheriff on their jacket, so... But for killing them, no.
Okay, so it makes you feel better that somebody had sheriff on their jacket that arrested you?
Yes, sir.
Opposed to what?
A deputy or someone like that, sir.
Okay, well, I'm not the sheriff.
I'm aware of that.
I'm the undersheriff.
The person driving me up here told me that. But still, it's...
So it makes you feel better that you got caught by somebody up in rank than somebody underneath?
Yes, sir.
But my question again is, do you have any remorse?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Now, live out here for a minute, okay?
Yes, sir. Some questions about this paperwork.
About what?
I didn't know what to put under investigator, date, earned, hair color, or the bottom line.
Oh, okay. That's no big deal. I'll fill that in.
Well, I didn't even know if that was hair color. I thought it might be hair length, hair color, both. I didn't know.
Okay, that's good. Maybe we just needed the general information on her name and all that anyway. What else is here?
Just have secret.
Here's a little chair.